Welcome to this presentation made by me, Raymond Perrier, the Director of the Dennis Hurley Centre, based on the presentation that I made to our annual Stakeholders Meeting at the beginning of February 2020 in Durban. Each year, the weekend closest to Hurley's death anniversary on the 13th of February, we hold our Hurley Weekend, a series of memorial masses in the cathedral with a candlelit procession to the shrine and a guest preacher each year. This year it was the retired Archbishop of Pretoria, William Slattery. And as part of that weekend, we have a feedback to our stakeholders to review the work that we did the year before and to look forward to the future. So over the last 5 years, I've been able to look at the progress that we've made as an organization, from settling into the building and consolidating our projects, to then expanding and developing those projects, taking on new work, and broadening the scope of what we do. And each year I try to look not just at what we do, but also how and why we do it, using different lenses. So in 2016, for the Year of Mercy, the lens I used was Matthew 25 and the corporal works of mercy. In 2017, we were celebrating the 50th anniversary of Populorum Progressio, that wonderful document on the Church's role in social development, written by St. Paul VI. That was the lens used in 2017. In 2018, I looked at our values as an organisation, as exemplified by Bishop Barry Wood, who had passed away a few months earlier. And that was in anticipation of presenting our first ever Barry Wood Awards for staff and volunteers who most exemplify those values. And then last year in 2019, a few months after the death of Paddy Carney, our founder, who had been a Marist brother, I used Mary's wonderful hymn, the Magnificat, from the Gospel of Luke, as a way of looking at the different aspects of our work. 2020, and we've been in operation for 5 years. So 5 would be a good lens to use, but 5 what? Think of the 5 senses. What have we seen? What have we heard? What have we said? Might become a little awkward when we wonder about what have we touched or what have we smelt. 5 might be the 5 food groups. What about our work has been meaty? What has been starchy? What has been sweet? What has been fruity? That might get a little contrived after a while. Of course, there are the 5 vowels, but it might be a bit difficult to begin each section with one of those 5 vowels. My hand, I think about the 5 fingers on the hand, and I'm reminded of a mnemonic I was taught in catechism classes many years ago for remembering the 5 books of Moses: Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. So let me use those 5 books of Moses as the lens through which to think about the work of the Dennis Hurley Centre in 2019 and looking forward to 2020 and beyond. Let's begin at the beginning, as the Bible does, with the book of Genesis. Genesis is a book all about our roots. Where have we come from? Why are we here? What feeds us? And in the same way, we can reflect on our roots as an organisation. This photograph captures that in a very striking way. In the centre, of course, the statue of Dennis Hurley in the heart of our building, holding the documents of Vatican II. Dennis Hurley and his experience of Vatican II lie at the roots of who we are as an organisation. But standing in front of the statue speaking is Paddy Carney, our founder, and he is also very much part of the roots, the genesis of who we are. The first full year since the death of Paddy, we had various opportunities to honour him. Most visibly, the small street outside of the Dennis Hurley Centre between us and the cathedral was renamed Paddy Carney Way, because Paddy, of course, always got his own way. And here is the Deputy Mayor, Belinda Scott, unveiling the new name. Many of Paddy's friends and co-workers were with us on that special day. Just a few of them here in this photograph. On the far left, Coral Vinson, the redoubtable head of Amnesty International. In the middle of the picture, at the foot of the streetlight, Ella Gandhi, the granddaughter of the Mahatma and one of our patrons. And just behind her, Bishop Reuben Phillip, another patron and now a trustee of the Dennis Hurley Centre. And on the far right, Seydoun Saeed from the Muslim community, who'd been working with Paddy for many, many years. In the building, we unveiled a plaque about Paddy, which particularly draws attention to his link with the Marist brothers. The school he went to, St. Charles in Pietermaritzburg, was a Marist college, the same school attended by Bishop Hurley himself, and Paddy was for 9 years a member of the Marist congregation. And here some representatives from St. Henry's Marist School in Durban were there at the unveiling. And during the course of the year, the Gandhi Development Trust, of which Paddy was also chair, hosted the first ever Paddy Carney lecture. And the lecture was given by an old friend of Paddy, Reverend Paul Verreyn from the Methodist community, a famous activist and fighter for social justice in his own right. An aspect of our heritage that we always celebrate and encourage others to celebrate are the many cultural roots that make Durban so rich and varied. And here, for example, is a photograph of the young people at the creche, the preschool that we run next to our container clinic in Dalton. And the young people have been learning Zulu dances and songs to entertain the neighbors and to entertain their mothers. The arts are a key part of our heritage and a part of our Catholic roots as well. Twice a year, we continue to host concerts with the junior Catholic schools and the senior Catholic schools in the cathedral. And it's particularly important because this is one of the very few opportunities that many of those young people would have to visit the cathedral and to sing in its beautiful space. And our roots, of course, are not just Catholic or Christian, but extend across all the faith communities of Durban. And that's never more obvious than at our Meal of Reconciliation. Every year on the 16th of December, we host a meal which brings together people of all faiths, sharing the religion that unites us in South Africa, the faith in reconciliation. And we do that on the Day of Reconciliation. And in 2019, we were pleased that for the first time, we had biryanis not only from the Muslim, Christian, and Hindu communities, but even from the Jewish community. And here some representatives of those communities are celebrating the different biryanis, standing in front of the portraits of Gandhi and Luthuli, after whom our main hall is named. Part of what nourishes us are the roots of the organization in prayer. Every week on a Wednesday morning, we begin the day with a prayer session for all staff and volunteers and any users of our services who want to come together and pray. And this is a photograph of the day of reflection that we held in the Durban Botanic Gardens during Lent, led by Reverend Delicia Tim, an Anglican priest who is now also one of our trustees. We make a point also to recognize and honor the prayer traditions of other faiths. And every year during Ramadan, we host our neighbors next door from the mosque to break the fast, to say the sunset prayers, and we join them for the breaking of the fast. And here you see them in the top room of our building, and just through the window you can see the golden dome of the mosque as the sun is setting. Our founders are not just Paddy Carney, but many others, including Monsignor Paul Nadal, who had been Hurley's Vicar General, who from the beginning was a great supporter of the Dennis Hurley Centre, a phenomenal fundraiser, a patron and a trustee. So we had an opportunity during the course of the year to celebrate him, to give him a big thank you for all the work that he has done. After the AGM, we had a special fundraising event to honor Paul on the 60th anniversary of his priesthood, and a chance for him and many of his friends to get together for a beautiful afternoon of jazz, singing, and dancing. We move from the book of Genesis to the book of Exodus, a book about journeys, about heading out into new territory, perhaps not always knowing where we're going, but not being afraid because we feel that we're always led by God, as the Israelites were led by Moses into the desert. So we get out onto the streets, never more clearly than with our mobile clinic. We've had this in operation now for 2 years, but during the course of 2019, the Japanese government, who had funded the clinic, hosted a particular inauguration ceremony with us so that we could celebrate their gift to us and give an opportunity for some of those who benefit from the service to talk about why it's so important that we provide healthcare out on the street. A little further afield is our sister project, the Napier Centre for Healing, about an hour's drive away from the Dennis Hurley Centre in a very isolated spot, an old rundown Catholic boarding school. We had started with pictures like this, a rundown, neglected and unwanted site, place which is cared for, alive and transformed. And we feel very much that the young men who are now staying at the Napier Centre on a long 9-month rehabilitation program are also now experiencing the change from being unwanted and abandoned to being cared for, alive and transformed. We managed to get government officials out onto the streets and walked around with them to give them a better understanding of the kind of challenges faced by homeless people in central Durban, but also some of the opportunities that we have to take buildings owned by the municipality and turn them into something of use. Our team went a little further up the road to Sadara, the seminary just outside Pietermaritzburg that was in fact founded by Archbishop Hurley and of which he was the first president, and where the Hurley Library is and the Hurley Archive. We took part in a seminar organized by Sadara in which we were sharing theologically on the work that we do and what inspires us in the work that we do. And the sharing was led not just by managers from the Dennis Hurley Centre, but as you see from the photograph, some of the people who benefit from our services and were able to talk about what difference the Dennis Hurley Centre had made in their lives. Outside of South Africa, we continue to draw support from around the world, and particularly from the UK, where the Dennis Hurley Association have been fantastic supporters now from long before the building was even completed. In the last 5 years, the Dennis Hurley Centre has raised over 2.2 million rand, that's more than £100,000 for our work. And last year we hosted our first ever UK fundraising concert in the beautiful setting of St Chad's Cathedral in Birmingham with a number of junior Catholic schools from the Birmingham area. And many thanks to the Archbishop and to the Dean of the Cathedral for allowing us to do that. And even further afield in the United States, I attended the annual International Symposium of the Street Medicine Institute. I was invited to speak about our work there, and this is an organization which brings together people from around the world who are providing medicine and healthcare to people on the streets and working with homeless in very different situations. It was a really wonderful opportunity to share what we do, but also to learn from what others do, and thanks to technology, to share papers and share ideas and continue to share them around the world. A part of our work in 2019 was to take the homeless out, take them out to meet people and to be met by people. So many people have prejudices about the homeless. We wanted to give people an opportunity to meet homeless men and women, to listen to their stories and ask them questions. This was part of a project called Homeless 101 to coincide with the 101st anniversary of Nelson Mandela's birth. And we had homeless people speaking in schools, in retirement villages, in corporate offices, and even, as you see here, at snazzy cocktail events. And there was an online version of this that we did courtesy of the Daily Maverick. 9 stories about homeless people with these stunning photographs by the fashion photographer Obakeng Molepe, who captured the images of these homeless people, and then Sitimbiso Shoba wrote up their stories so that people could read them, and you can continue to read those on our website. Sadly, one of the participants in that project, James Tshabalala, passed away during the course of the year. So this is an opportunity for us to pause and give thanks to God for the life of James and so many other people with whom we engage who have passed away in the last year. May they rest in peace. The next book of the Old Testament is the book of Leviticus, a book of rules, or perhaps better still, of principles, a way of thinking about what we do and how we do it and why we do it. And I'll cover that in the next video.